Yo, Snapchat. So I had a few more thoughts based on yesterday's talk about hackathon problems and why and how they should become a permanent fixture throughout the year. So like Google Ventures sprint model is really cool. I'm only just starting to learn about it a bit now. I've kind of like grazed it a bit in the past, but I haven't really looked into the process. So it's a 5-day design sprint where they basically involve some of the key stakeholders within the company and a few people who are designers and coders. And you basically make a prototype and show it to customers by Friday. At the start of the week, you actually book in 5 potential customers to come and demo the product on Friday. So it puts that pressure on the deadline. You're going to show this to real people by the end of the week. So then on Monday, you unpack the problem, you really map it out and then work out exactly the storyboard, I guess, of the problem you're trying to solve in the target market customer. On Tuesday, everyone sketches up a whole bunch of ideas individually. And then on Wednesday, everyone kind of argues to find out the one solution, the one prototype they should build. And Thursday, they build it. And the prototypes they're building are very, they're kind of like, design-wise, visually, they look and feel like real apps and real products, but just not all the features there. So kind of like it's tricking the user. Then on Friday, they bring in the customers and they test it live and just kind of learn from that process. And they might do an A/B test. So they might have two different types of prototypes and just test and see which one works better. So it's an interesting model. It may actually be more effective than the lean startup model. And so it's really intriguing in how that applies to problem solving, particularly with hackathons. So here's the business idea, and here's how you basically take the hackathon model and turn it into a global kind of impact machine that's actually solving problems and not just creating projects that get abandoned. So companies, orgs and crowdfunders can basically book out a sprint team for a week nearby. And that sprint team would pretty much include like 3 people, like a product manager, a designer and a dev. And so maybe for 10 grand, you're basically buying a 3-person team for a full week to solve a problem for you, like to full on actually solve that problem for you. So out of that 10 grand, 2 grand would go to each of the contractors that we hire out. And then the rest would go towards paying for, say, food or rent and then giving it back to the platform. Although one thing these sprints typically need is a war room, so they need like a separate office that's completely away from everything else that's happening, where those 3 people plus another 5 from the company can be there. So if the company already has a big office space, like a spare conference room that they can keep completely booked out for 5 days, that's pretty cool. Otherwise I was thinking like maybe partnering with WeWork with co-working. So I guess you can kind of think of this as like a 5-day hackathon that runs internally in a company that's paid for a corporate hackathon. Bit of a sell-up, but it'd be cool to turn it into a platform so it's actually scalable. But that's the biggest problem I haven't yet solved is like, how do you scale this? Because you need to really work out that those 3 people you're sending have the skills and the training and know how to run a sprint. I mean, the model's awesome because it's helping startups and companies and organizations solve their problems really quickly, like within 5 days. And they should be running that almost every week. And it helps pay those people who are helping them. Like if you're a maker or someone who typically has gone to a hackathon before or you're entrepreneurial in nature, that's pretty cool, getting paid 2 grand to essentially do a hackathon for a week. You could work 3 months of the year. But yeah, how do you scale that for global impact? I mean, you could work on this for 5-10 years and turn it into a multi-million-dollar business, but still only have, hundreds, thousands of these things running and not that many more. Like back to the final point in yesterday's video, the final endgame vision. How do you get it to the point where 7 billion people every week, we get up on a Monday and we're like, okay, cool, let's form little teams and solve this problem this week. Because say if each sprint team and the stakeholders involved equals say 7 people, that means every single week in a systematic way, you're solving 1 billion problems worldwide. Fuck.